If you're over 50 and you're considering a side gig as a food delivery or rideshare driver, you're going to want to watch this episode of Over 50 TV because we're going to tell you just about everything that you need to know about working one of these side gigs. And that, my friends, that's up next right here on Over 50 TV. Welcome back to Over 50 TV. My name is Lou Reyes. Well, today I'm going to introduce you to Chris Gerace. Chris is a contributor to the Rideshare Guy. It's a website, a blog, and a YouTube channel that's become a popular destination for gig workers who want to stay up to date and informed on the gig economy. And I'll go ahead, I'll put a link to the Rideshare Guy website and their YouTube channel in the description box. You can check them out later after the program. But for now, let me introduce you to Chris Gerace. Welcome to Over 50 TV, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. You know, I kind of want to start out this interview by just asking you to explain to our viewers what exactly, in your words, is the gig economy.
So the gig economy is essentially gigs. It's, side hustles, or even now it's evolved into people main income. And it ranges from, just putting your services online and having other people come call you up or email you or something like that. You could even look back at like the little flyers you'd put on telephone poles or something, like if you need cleaning services or something like that. That could be essentially it. But the gig economy itself kind of evolved into, rideshare, into food delivery, shopping, where these are the main companies that are doing it. And then there's many other services. So things like Fiverr. There's a lot of different places where pretty much anybody can put any service online, and if somebody's looking to use it, then they can contact you in some way. But there's definitely companies that are revolved around that.
Yeah, we see that more and more, especially as you just said with food delivery. And I suppose that's why the Rideshare Guy platform, which I want to mention is owned by Harry Campbell, why that site has become so popular with gig workers. But let me ask you, for people who are a bit older, say people over 50 who aren't looking for full-time, who want flexibility in their job options, would you say that this rideshare or food delivery is a good choice or good option?
Absolutely. There's quite a few drivers that are over 50. There's a lot of drivers that are retired that are doing this part-time or for extra income or anything like that. So there's quite a few drivers that are taking advantage of that, whether it be in their years of retirement, whether it be to kind of create a better nest egg for retirement as it might be coming forward very soon. So there's definitely a lot of people who are taking advantage of that. And I'm thinking just as, things within the economy itself, with this whole last year going on, people are hurting, people are struggling, and the gig economy is a great way to get a secondary income. Or if you're in between jobs, it can be a great way to have just a financial softening to the blow that some people might be experiencing.
Yeah, that kind of leads me to the big question, a question that I'm sure you hear quite often. How profitable is it working in the gig economy, particularly working drive share or food delivery?
It can be pretty profitable if you understand your area, if you know your area, basically when to go out and go online, when people are looking for the service, whether it's food delivery, whether it's rideshare. Those are a couple of things that you need to know. The shortcuts to get around, to know, whether there's detours in the area or things like that, the events that are going on, the busier times. You just need to know those types of things in order for it to become more profitable for you. And that's what channels like the Rideshare Guy and others that are kind of looking at to try to help drivers, to help delivery drivers and other people in the gig economy make more informed decisions behind the wheel, be more knowledgeable on trying to figure out how they can maximize their earnings with the, I guess you could say, least amount of time working, which would just raise your hourly rate versus, being somebody out there and kind of sitting around and waiting for some sort of ride or delivery or something to come in.
So, Chris, can you kind of give me the average amount of money a person could expect to make doing rideshare or food delivery?
It's going to vary market to market. Some you could get 15 or so dollars an hour. Some you might get 25 to 30 an hour. And it's also going to depend on, when you're going out, when you're online, when you're available to take these things. If you're going out for rideshare, say in the middle of the afternoon, there might not be as many rides as, say, during the lunchtime rush or after work when people are trying to get home, or also even the evening rush. So like knowing when you're going out is going to also play into it. So there's definitely things that you can do. It's just being informed and making the decisions. But yeah, you could probably range. Most I'm going to say is probably about 15 to maybe $25, $30 an hour, depending on area and time.
Well, that's definitely one of the benefits, that you can make sounds like some pretty decent money. And I imagine that the more time that you put in, it's obvious that the more money that you're going to make. But one of the benefits that I think people would really enjoy, especially people over 50, is the flexibility. Isn't that a great benefit as well?
Absolutely. The flexibility is great because you can go online and offline whenever you want. So if you have somewhere where you have to be, you can kind of put your schedule around that. So if I'm going from my house to, say, downtown, I can put the app on, put a destination filter on with the time, and I can go out driving for that. And then I should end up at my end destination where I need to be at the specific time that I chose. So that's one thing. Also, you can go on during the busy times. You can go offline during the slow times. You can be at home, and you can take off. There's nobody you need to ask when it comes to schedule. You can just stay offline. A lot of people were staying offline this last year when it came to drivers, and some are starting to go back online. And that's how Uber and Lyft operate.
Chris, when we were talking about money, one of the questions that I meant to ask you is, what do you think is more profitable, food delivery or ride sharing?
Honestly, it would be both. Something called multi-apping is a great option. So that means instead of just using one platform like Uber or one platform like Lyft or DoorDash, you're online all of them at the same time. And then when an order comes in or a ride request comes in on one platform, you just turn the other platforms off and you complete that delivery or pick up and drop off. And then you go from there. So you're going to maximize the amount of possibility of orders and rideshare coming in, which is going to give you more money overall with a shorter amount of time. Because if you're only solely on one platform, you might not have requests coming in all of the time. So you might be sitting there in your car or wherever you might be waiting for that request. But if you have multiple apps on, it's going to be better for you and the greater chance of having an order versus sitting there waiting.
So I love the idea of using multiple apps. It seems to ensure that you're always going to be busy, and that just sounds like a smart move.
For the most part. I mean, again, it's going to depend on time and where you are. So if you're out in a suburban area that's a little bit more out, almost towards a rural area versus, more populated area, you're going to have more downtime because there's not as many orders or ride requests or anything coming in. So placement is also another key factor. But yeah, you could be potentially as busy as you want to be.
Chris, one of the questions that kind of comes up with me anyway, is safety. Because, I've seen videos, I've seen them on a site. I think a site that you have is called the Real Rideshare Stories. And it seems that sometimes maybe the passenger isn't the most friendly. What about safety concerns?
Well, safety is always a concern. I mean, anytime you're dealing with other people, there's always the chance of a conflict happening. And it's elevated, I would say, a little bit more so being inside a personal vehicle like a car, where especially at night or anything like that, if you're taking somebody who's been out drinking, their filters are off, to say, and it could be a pretty budding experience where things can get out of hand very quickly. Overall, though, It is very safe. I mean, I've given thousands of rides and really only had one altercation. And again, that was outside a bar. We do see videos like that all the time, though, because you got to think how many rides are going on throughout the entire nation, throughout the entire world. There's everybody who's got dash cameras. And yeah, I mean, right now at this time, I'm going to say it's probably a little bit even more elevated for safety and things like that when it comes to, say, Chicago or New York City or some of these bigger cities. But as long as you go out at the right times, usually during the day, you're not dealing with drunk people. You're not dealing with people who are going to have problems. Installing a dash camera in your car, that's a great thing to have because it will capture everything. It's also a deterrent for people. Putting those stickers that say audio and video is recording, that can have a big impact as well, too. So it can help deter things. And then also, I would say if you have the knowledge of the areas that you're going into, like whether you are knowing an area is higher risk for violence or unsafe areas or anything like that, you don't have to go there. You can avoid that. Yep. If you have a ride going there, that's fine. You can drop them off and then, you can turn off your apps and then go to an area that's going to be maybe busier, that's safer. So things like that can be a big help as well. And, just trying to be, relatable and customer service-esque to kind of downplay or escalate anything that could be escalated and turn into an unsafe situation.
I can see that with all the millions of rides that are occurring, you could maybe find yourself in a situation, but it sounds like for the most part, you really are pretty safe.
Yes. Unfortunately, yeah, there are what we call the entitled riders who think that they own you and your car. If you know that right off the bat, and you kind of get that over experience, taking X amount of rides, you kind of figure out who's going to be more entitled than non, and who's grateful for the ride. Because you definitely have those people who are grateful and happy. But when you get those entitled passengers, you can cancel the ride. Or if they get disrespectful in the middle of the ride or anything like that, you can pull over in a safe area and let them out. And then just make a report to whatever platform that you're on. And then one step further, too, is we were talking about rideshare and safety with people in the car. Now, food doesn't do anything. So food just sits there. The only thing you'd have to worry about is whatever area you're delivering your food to, where there could be a potential problem. But if you feel that there's any unsafe manner, whether it's where you're picking somebody up or whether you're dropping food off or anything like that, you can always leave that area and mark that it was unsafe to deliver or unsafe to pick up, and you move on to the next.
Now, Chris, you've given us some very valuable tips, but let me ask you, if there's somebody out there who's watching this program and they're thinking, I want to try this, what's the first step that you suggest that they do?
First, I would say find the referral code for these companies, because right now they're offering really good referrals for drivers to come on board because there's a driver shortage for rideshare. So Uber and Lyft are struggling to bring drivers back onto the platform because of the whole pandemic. More ride requests are coming in, which in turn makes it where drivers are making more money. So how we were talking about maybe $15 to $25 to $30 or so an hour. Now you're for this time frame and probably for the next several months, probably through the fall or even into the end of the year, you're going to see drivers making maybe $25 to $30 to $40 right now because there's a lot more ride requests and not enough drivers to fulfill it. So supply and demand is really skewed at the point. So right now, Uber and Lyft are offering great incentives for drivers to come on board. So they have a referral link, and you could get that either on the Rideshare guy. I'm not sure if you have any of those where they can click in the description or not, but you can go there, and depending on your market, you might see $1,200 in bonuses or earning guarantees for giving X amount of rides. There was in Tampa, Florida, a very big demand for drivers to come on. So Lyft was offering $6,000 for 100 rides in guaranteed earnings. So somebody did that in 1 week and ended up making around $6,100 in 1 week because of that earning guarantee. So they decided, I'm going to do all 100 rides in 1 week. And so that is the best place to start right now. So you can maximize those earning potentials by either getting an earning guarantee or a bonus.
You know, Chris, you bring up the earning guarantee, and that is a very interesting point. I'm glad you brought it up. But one thing that I think I've been hearing is that sometimes the rates that drivers are paid, that those rates, they can vary. And even with Uber or some of the other rideshare companies, that if they decide to cut the rate, they just cut it. Do you see much of that happening lately?
Rate cuts don't happen too often, and they're going to let you know when they do. So the rate is pretty much done by mileage and time. So you have a mileage rate and a time rate is how you get paid for both Uber and Lyft. And so they are doing it that way. They let you know if there's going to be a rate change. So whether it's an increase or a decrease, I don't think they're going to be changing rates anytime soon, especially down. I think if anything, they're going to have to raise rates because gas is going up a little bit. So the expenses are starting to get a little bit higher. That is one thing to take in consideration as well, are some of these expenses and things that are happening. And that can play how you're going to go online and when you're going to go online. Also, how many apps you might be on at the same time.
Chris, I really appreciate the information that you're giving us today because I know that if there's somebody out there who's been kind of on the fence and they're not sure what they want to do, if they want to become a driver, you know, I believe the information you're giving us, it's a lot of information, and I think it can help a person make a very educated decision. But is there anything else that you want someone to know that you think that they should know about becoming a driver?
Yeah, I would say make sure you try it. If you're on the fence, the best thing is just try it because you might enjoy it, and try multiple apps. So try Uber, try Lyft, try DoorDash, try all of these different apps and see what you like the best and then go with those. So there's multiple rideshare apps if you enjoy rideshare and you enjoy talking with people and all that. There's multiple delivery apps that if you want to do food delivery and not do rideshare, you can do all of them together. There's shopping apps. So if you like going to the store like Instacart or Shipt or anything like that, you can go shopping and then deliver that food to people. And then, so I would say pretty much sign up, start, try it, see what you like, what you don't like, and come up with your own strategies. Then also, while you're doing that, while you're starting and all that, also make sure to check out different resources online on what the best strategies are that you can use to make more money, to see what other experiences drivers are having, and to see what you might need to watch out for, what you need to know that maybe these apps just don't say when it comes down to it. So getting the resources and the knowledge, and that's where the Rideshare guy comes in, because there's a lot of information there over quite a few years. Whether you go onto the blog site or on YouTube, you can see a lot of different things that are going on. Any new changes, any breaking news when it comes to these gig platforms. And also, like I said, try it. If you're on the fence, it's a great way to make extra money. It's a great way to get out and do things, especially if you're retired. And it just keeps you kind of going. So it's a good thing.
It sounds like a great thing. You know, what's funny, Chris, is I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you talking about it. And I'm thinking to myself, first, I'm a bit older, and I know this. When I was younger, most of us anyway, for most of us, the only option was to really go out and get a part-time job if you wanted to make extra money. And that sometimes that included working on the weekends. But I really like these options. I want to thank you, Chris. I want to thank you for spending time with us today. I want to thank Harry Campbell at the Rideshare Guy. And I also want to mention that you have, I guess it's your site, the Rideshare Stories. That's your tube channel, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I have my own as well, where I do a lot of things more like with dash cam footage and what's going on there. And then I also do the contribution work with Harry and the Rideshare guy. So anything like breaking news, anything with some different strategies and stuff, we make videos, and I help him out with producing some of those videos. All around, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great job. You really are. And I want to thank you once again for spending time with us today. I just so appreciate your time. I'm sure what you gave us, the information, is going to be very, very helpful to our listeners. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a link to the Rideshare guy in the description box.
Well, thanks for having me, and anytime. So if you have, a follow-up or anything that you want to do, just let us know.
I will for sure, Chris. I also want to ask the viewers out there, if you will, please go ahead and hit that little subscription button. It's underneath your screen. There's also a little bell. If you hit that little bell every single time we upload a new video, you'll be notified in your inbox. Well, as I always say, have a great day, everybody.